have wondered why humans undergo menopause, and you're not the only one. After all, horses, dogs, cats, elephants, and other mammals don't undergo menopause, so why do humans? Now, you may have heard of the grandmother hypothesis, and that is a hypothesis developed by evolutionary biologist George C. Williams. George came up with this idea that our grandmothers in the prehistoric hunter-gatherer era must have helped with childcare, thus allowing mothers to bear and raise more children successfully. There is no scientific evidence to support this hypothesis. George came up with this hypothesis by looking around at his own post-industrial 20th century middle-class American society. Our prehistoric ancestors were not 20th century post-industrial middle-class Americans. Furthermore, we know that having a living grandmother did not in any way affect child survival rates or birth rates in pre-industrial societies. We know this from examining historical records. Now we're right back where we started, asking why did menopause evolve in the first place? As I hinted, most mammals do not experience menopause. They continue to ovulate for life. Chimpanzees have sometimes been observed experiencing menopause, but only in captivity and only when they get to like their 50s, which is way older than any chimpanzee in the wild would live to be. The only other mammal that normally experiences menopause in the wild are orcas, killer whales. Now, what do postmenopausal orcas do? Not childcare. Orcas are matriarchal and live in female-oriented kin groups, much like elephants. The value a postmenopausal orca provides to her kin group is actually knowledge and preservation of the status of her offspring. Grandma orcas are the ones who remember things like prey migration patterns and how to respond to other predators and how to survive other environmental disasters. Grandma orcas also pass on grudges. There was this one family of orcas attacking yachts recently, and biologists thought it was probably an older female orca who'd had a bad experience with a yacht, and so she taught all of her babies and grandbabies to hate yachts. Grandma orcas also preserve the status of their offspring in the pecking order. So if you are an orca and your mom is the big baddie orca in the pod, you are going to have better access to food and protection from the rest of the pod. And also your offspring are also going to have better access to food and protection from the rest of the pod. Kat Bohannon proposes in her book Eve that humans probably evolved menopause for the same reason, because knowledge of the elders was valuable to the larger group's survival, and it helped preserve the status of that elder's offspring. I know in our post-industrial society where technology changes like every other month, we don't really value the knowledge of elders anymore. That is frankly a tragedy with a lot of unfortunate side effects we can discuss another time. But if you think about a people group where there is no Google, there is no library, there is no writing, there is no mass media, and the only way to learn stuff is from people in your immediate vicinity, having a person who's been around for a while and has all of this knowledge and information is going to be very important to your survival. But now you're probably wondering, Elizabeth, you're a fantasy author. Why are you talking about this? Because I am working on editing this Viking and Anglo-Saxon inspired fantasy romance book, Dominion of the Wolf, which is book 3 in my Wrath and Weeping series. And there's this character, Hulda. Her character was kidnapped and taken as a thrall as a child, but she's an Istavari sorceress, if a partially trained one. Ergo, her granddaughter and great-grandchildren, who we also meet, are also Istavari. Now, this is a really cool character idea to me, but something felt off about her character. I didn't like it. And then I realized I was falling into my cultural default and assuming the grandmother hypothesis without meaning to. If I write this character to be less like the grandmother hypothesis and more like an orca, I will solve my problems with the character and also resolve several plot holes within the story. The more you know. The first draft of my book, Dominion of the Wolf, will be launching to members of Elizabeth's Legion later this month, and we will also be reopening the membership for new member signups. So keep an eye out for that.